believe it or not, we now have two tropical depressions in the Atlantic. Tropical Depression 13 formed in the night, I think it was at 11 p.m. And then as of this morning, Tropical Depression 14 has just formed here. They were previously Invest 97 and 98L. You've probably heard of them on the news. And then we now have also this, which will soon become Invest 99L, and also has a chance to become a tropical depression. Today, we're going to be mainly focusing on those two tropical depressions, starting off with Tropical Depression 13 and then moving on to Tropical Depression 14. So first off, here's the current official track from the National Hurricane Center for Tropical Depression 13. It is expected to become a tropical storm later today, as it moves right north of the Caribbean here. The track has shifted north, and Puerto Rico is no longer in the cone, as well as Dominican Republic. But we now have more impacts possible. If you take this line here, this is where the center of the storm is expected to go. So pretty much right through southern Florida and the Keys. Now, as you see the cone here, I don't like following the line. I think more of it as where it could potentially go. This storm could very well go as far north as this little tip here of the cone and as far south as unto Cuba and not impacting Florida whatsoever. But it could also go anywhere. Pretty much what I like to say is anywhere in this cone is where the center could go. Right now, National Hurricane Center is forecasting a Category 1 hurricane. I think it will be much higher than that, but you guys will be able to see my official last news forecast at the end of the video, so stick to the end to see that. Now, moving on to Tropical Depression 14, the one currently that has just formed here in the Caribbean. This is expected to peak at 60 miles per hour here right before landfall, so very close to hurricane status, and I would not be surprised if we saw a Category 1 of this storm. It's expected to continue moving west and make a very close approach to Honduras here, very, very close approach, which is why they have put tropical storm watches in effect, which does mean tropical storm conditions could happen in this location. Now, the center is expected to go through the Yucatan Peninsula and Mexico, where we could be seeing landfall, and I wouldn't be surprised if tropical storm watches and warnings get issued there. Again, the cone here, it could go as far as clipping it and as far inland to really go far inland, but then it does get pretty large because either it could make landfall as far as Louisiana and as far as in southern Texas, but right now National Hurricane Center is going with a landfall near Houston here as a strong tropical storm. But once again, Category 1 is really not out of the question here. Here's where Tropical Depression 13 here looks. It has a little bit of convection. It's not looking too bad right now. It's looking all right. It's not the most organized system still, and we have still a long way to go, but you can clearly see this rotation here we're having, and it does look fairly decent, and I wouldn't be surprised if this become a tropical storm later today. Here's the current tracks for for Tropical Depression 13 now. Pretty much every single model makes landfall in Florida, so pay attention to this. There's not one model except the UK X2, but it's very unreliable, that does not make landfall in Florida. So every single model here makes landfall in Florida. Even the pink and the purple one making landfall near Melbourne. But every single model brings us towards Florida. And this is really something we're going to need to pay very, very, very close attention, as we could be having a major system here coming through Florida. And the cone still remains pretty big, but Florida, it looks like it's getting very likely with this high pressure here. It's coming very, very likely that we see this moving through here with this high pressure looking a little bit like this here. And, it is very likely that we see this moving through here. And then whether it curves then towards the north, but, it really looks like we're going to be seeing this making a landfall in Florida. It's looking a whole lot more likely. Yesterday, most models brought it south of Florida, but really now we're seeing this shifting to the north, and Florida landfall is becoming more likely. So if you're in Florida, of course, get your hurricane plan ready, because this is still really a potential very strong impact that we could be seeing with this system. Here's the intensity guidance for this Tropical Depression 13. Models are starting to go up to hurricane status here. They're starting to pick up on that. One model bringing it up to Cat 4 status. Two model bringing it to Cat 3 here. Let me reload this in case we do have a brand new set of models here. It does not look like it. But either way, we have, let's see, let's make a line here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. More than half of them are bringing it to hurricane status by hour 72. And if we compare that to our track, hour 72 is when it gets to the Bahamas. So from the Bahamas to Florida, we have a lot of time to strengthen further from Cat 1 status up to Cat 2, Cat 3, and where the rest is going. So honestly, here the Cody model and the HWFR are not out of the question here. But they do show rapid intensification, which is still possible. But overall, the consensus of the model is pretty slow developing towards Cat 1 status, and then staying around strong to moderate Category 1 status with this system. Now, look at our tropical depression. Our next tropical depression 14. It actually, in my opinion, looks a whole lot better than tropical depression 13, even though it just got upgraded. But we have this pretty big area of convection, with the center being around here, and it's looking fairly good, and it is expected to continue moving westward before taking this turn towards the north here. But we do have this trough here that could bring some wind shear and problems to the system, which could limit its strengthening. But we're seeing this convection starting to come near Honduras, and really, this is a pretty major system. If we quickly look at it in the visible high resolution here, uh, if it's gonna load, of course, you can really see how the system's been looking. It's been looking fairly well. I'm just going to pause it, but you can see how it's been looking here. It's really been looking good. Uh, and, honestly, better than Tropical Depression 13. If you look at it on the satellite here, look how good this looks. But anyways, let's move on to the tracks here. So it follows pretty much the National Hurricane Center track, going for landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula and making landfall in near Texas, Houston. And they pretty much went ahead and made a cone around this, as far out as you can see as Louisiana, and as far down as near Texas. So they're following the models closely, but most models are bringing this to Texas. And believe it or not, we could see both systems in the Gulf at the same time. We could be seeing what could be Laura or Marco, Tropical Depression 14 here, and Tropical Depression 13 around here when it crosses here, Florida. So we could be seeing those two systems in the Gulf here at the same time, which would be very, very interesting to see. Not gonna lie. Okay, intensity guidance a whole lot lower for the system, but they do expect it to become a tropical storm, weaken as it makes landfall on Honduras and regain strength. National Hurricane Center National Hurricane Center brings it way, way, way stronger, weakening slightly, and then coming almost to Cat 1 status, which, again, we're going to have to see if it is able to really strengthen. But a couple models are showing rapid intensification with this system to Category 1 status and higher. So, again, we're really, really, really going to pay attention. Now, before we go to our official last news forecast, I'm going to quickly just look once again at the satellite imagery for the systems in true color, just to see really what we can notice there. So hopefully it will load eventually, because that's something very annoying when it won't load, to be honest. But let's try to load this up. This is probably my least favorite thing about Tropical Tidbits. It takes freaking hours to load. Come on. Okay, well, it's gonna load. It's gonna load. So, what has it been looking at, you may ask? You can see there. This is the center of Tropical Depression 13. Let me just pause it. Honestly, we'll just pause it right here. So this is a little bit what it's been looking at. It's not been the most organized system. We can see it's a little bit of a U shape, where we have the center on here and this ginormous band to the south here. And that has limited the convection, because we have too much convection on this band. And really, we need this band to fall apart so that we can get better convection here in the center, which has been limiting the development a little bit with this. But it is continuing to approach here the Leeward Islands and the Virgin Islands here. It's expected to move right north of there, and I think it should have loaded now. Let's check if it has, and it has. And so yeah, you can really see it was looking better earlier. Now we're seeing less convection than earlier today, and a little bit of a less organized system, but still fairly organized, nonetheless, to be honest. Now we're quickly going to go ahead and check Tropical Depression 14, which looks even better on satellite, but the image is delayed though, so do keep that in mind when you're looking at the satellite imagery. Once again, we'll wait for it to load, so we'll go to when it actually loads. So we'll look at it right here. And once again, this system just looks better than Tropical Depression 13. We have the low pressure center around here, and we have this massive area of convection here around the center, extending pretty far out. I'm sure even Jamaica here is having already some very harsh conditions here, very heavy rainfall from this system. But we've been seeing this looking better and better throughout the day, with some nice outflow around here. In outflow around here, so you can see this outflow coming out here, outflow. But what we haven't seen there is we don't have a lot of banding quite yet. So we need to see a little bit more banding. Maybe a little bit of banding is happening here, but not too much. But either way, we're going to be getting two recon flights, one in Tropical Depression 14 and one in Tropical Depression 13. But with the low pressure being around right here and this moving due west, as you can see, if this continues to move due west, you can see it will clip Honduras, and then this will likely then starts to take a turn towards the north here and move a little bit like this. So this is why we have those tropical storm watches in effect for those area here. So now let's go to the official last news forecast for both Tropical Depression 13 and 14. Here's my forecast for Tropical Depression 13 here. And you might say, well, you're overestimating the system, blah, 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 last news. Honestly, the conditions are there. It's going to be there for development, believe me or not. But I do see this staying as a tropical storm, at least until near Puerto Rico. And then I see this becoming a Cat 1 hurricane here as it enters the Bahamas, and it rapidly intensifying to a Category 3 hurricane before landfall here. And then I do expect landfall around here and then curving up to the north. Natural hurricanes that are doing it a little tiny bit differently. It looks at it a little bit more like this. So really, this depends when it starts to curve towards the north. With this high pressure here, does the high pressure makes it curve later, or does the high pressure makes it curve sooner? It's really what's going to happen, but that just kind of went stab in the middle, and I do expect this to make landfall. As you can see, as a Category 3, and then weakening to Cat 1 tropical storm inside of Florida. I've kept it quite open for it to go out to sea on the right or left side of it, but this is my prediction for the storm. I know Adrian's weather forecast has a similar prediction with a Category 2 landfall in a very similar area for the system, and I do see this happening, honestly, and I think it will be your first major hurricane. Here's my current track for Tropical Depression 14. I do see this pretty much doing what the National Hurricane Center said, clipping Honduras, making landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula, and then just maybe I've kept a slight chance for it to become a Cat 1, 75 mile per hour. I kept a slight chance, although right now I give it a 30 to 40% chance, but I've still kept this slight chance for it to become just maybe a Category 1 hurricane right before landfall. I have the landfall point a little bit more to the right of the National Hurricane Center, as you can see, because the stronger it gets, the more likely it is going to be moving a little bit farther east. So I've got a tiny bit more. National Hurricane Center has a landfall about here. I have it at the Louisiana-Texas border, so I've got a little bit, tiny bit more towards the east here. But anyways, this is pretty much the end of this video here. I'm going to quickly show you guys a zoomed out look of the Atlantic Ocean here, just so that you can see everything going on in the tropics as we speak. And really, this is pretty much the end of this video. And quickly, before I do end this, just to show you all the systems, this is Tropical Depression 14, this is Tropical Depression 13, and this is what soon could become Tropical Depression 15. But I mean, it still looks a little bit better, to be honest, Tropical Depression 13 here. But Tropical Depression 14 does have a lot more convection. And also, you can see this is the trough right here I've been talking about. This is the second trough around here, which will impact those systems as they move. And then you can see a little bit of dry air here through here. This will start to impact Tropical Depression 13 a little bit here. If we go, and the dry does seem to dissipate a little bit, but that will impact. And as you can see from the beginning to the end, look how much worse Tropical Depression 13 looks. Let's go back to the beginning here. If we go back to the beginning here, it looked a whole lot better. You're going to be able to see that in just a moment. Look at it at the beginning. It looks maybe like a tropical storm. And then at the end, Tropical Depression 14 looks better and Tropical Depression 13 looks worse. But this might, it might blow up in convection again. We'll see. But this is pretty much going to end this video. As always, don't forget to subscribe.